Hello my loves, and welcome back to a new video. Now today I'm going to be sharing my opinions and thoughts on Kat Von D recently ditching all witchcraft, occultic, new age spiritual books and converting to Christianity. Now, disclaimer, I have absolutely nothing against Kat Von D. I've actually been a fan of hers for many years. I think she's an incredible, very talented woman, and she actually inspired me to get into tattooing years ago, as I used to be a tattooist myself for about 8 years. So this is absolutely no hate on her. She is, of course, entitled to do whatever she chooses to do, and adopt any religion or whatever that she wants. But I'm just going to be sharing, because obviously this is quite a common theme that I've spoken about in the past, and what other people have done as well, such as Doreen Virtue and other spiritualistic people within the industry, where they completely shun all, spiritual tools and practices and completely convert to Christianity. So with Kat Von D, she's obviously very notorious for having a very gothic aesthetic. Her house is like something out of the Addams Family, with her husband and her child. I think it's stunning, to be fair. It's very beautiful, all her sort of, look and style. But she obviously was involved in witchcraft, spirituality, doing that sort of thing. And she said that basically what triggered her to completely shun and get rid of all of those things, and even go as far as getting baptized and, being reborn, and, the same old process that they all do, is because she realized that spiritual warfare is real. So she must have obviously had some sort of paranormal experience, probably with something demonic, some sort of dark entity, which is very common. It's normally the #1 trigger that makes people completely fear all spiritual practices, whether it be, Wiccan, witchcraft, new age, whatever it is, basically anything that isn't of, Christianity or God, and completely run to the church in fear. And I completely understand why. I myself actually went through this many years ago when I was getting heavily psychically attacked, like I've said in other videos, with having encounters with, dark entities and that sort of thing. However, it's not the right antidote to do all these sort of things, because with magic and the occult, it is innate within our DNA, within our mind, within our body, within our spirit. We are all capable of manifesting, creating our reality, conjuring things. It literally is a part of being a human. Everyone can be clairvoyant, everyone can tap into their psychic abilities if they know how to clean their third eye, how to activate it, if they practice things such as meditation, spell work, whatever the case, whatever you want to label it as. Everyone has the ability to heighten their consciousness level. It's ancient, and all the ancients knew this. It's been dated back for centuries. And ironically, even the Bible has many passages and scriptures that actually show this as well, teaching people that the kingdom of God is within you. That, what you ask for, you shall basically manifest as well. There's loads of manifestation quotes and scriptures within the Bible. So there's two problems when people do this. So #1 is they run to the church out of fear. And what I saw with Kat Von D that obviously would have made it much worse is she was reading certain books from people like Aleister Crowley, so people who are actual Satanists. So it's like, of course, if you're going to be indulging in that sort of occultic practices, yes, that is a red flag. Like, I myself shun things like that. I completely shun anyone who does black magic, who does dark occultic practices, such as Aleister Crowley. He was a heavy drug user, sex addict, alcoholic. He was intelligent, but he used his occultic knowledge and practices for his own ego, for his own selfish desires, for conjuring dark things, doing blood rituals, orgies, dark shit. So it was all a darker energy. So if you have things like that in your house, in your home, then yeah, that's going to bring in some negative energy, because you are tapping into that. it's very important, and this is why I've done so many videos on this, to be very careful what you indulge in, what you consume, what you practice, the importance of morality and not being controlled by your ego whenever you are doing any sort of spiritualistic work. Because if you're not, it can certainly open doors to dark places and things to enter your life. And you don't know or realize these things exist until it actually happens to you. So, you know, many skeptics who just have no clue about anything like this, you know, they'll just roll their eyes or think you're crazy a lot of the time, until they actually live it themselves. So it's very easy to judge people, and unfortunately this skepticism is also a problem, because it's very hard to actually find people to help you if these problems arise. You know, for many years I had this issue when I was getting attacked by multiple spirits, you know, very dark things and entities, and I was desperate for help. And I did run to the church at one point. I did have a priest come and bless my house, you know, even as a child and teenager. We had priests coming around all the time, but it done no good. It kept happening. It wasn't enough, and it wasn't the proper way to banish this sort of dark shit. And this was a lesson that I had to learn, that I had to literally become the person to get rid of it myself, to heighten my own frequency, vibration, to learn how to protect myself. And many people who are very open, especially women who are like connected to the spirit realm, you know, it's really important to learn these abilities. Because if you're an empath or a natural born medium or an oracle, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, a natural born psychic, if you don't protect yourself, you know, you're like a beacon to all these different types of energies. You're basically a bridge between the physical and the spiritual realms. So, you know, this is why people get labeled as schizophrenic or bipolar or this or that, you know, with these mental health issues. And a lot of it is literally because they're just highly sensitive people who have no idea how to learn or control their abilities. And I'm not saying that all mental illnesses are spiritual gifts, they're not. Of course, a lot of it can be caused by trauma and that sort of thing, and your brain, you know, fragmenting, and, you know, there's many different catalysts, but it's not always the case. It's not always the case that it's some sort of toxin or trauma or, you know, brain disorder that's causing these, you know, visions, or you picking up on these certain energies, etc. Because, you know, it can be healed and controlled, and a lot of the time they just need guidance and protection. So it's very important for people like, you know, Kat Von D, or people who have, you know, very negative experiences that's, you know, scare them off, witchcraft, the occult, to acknowledge that, one, the church is not innocent, you know, and again, I'm not bashing Christians, you know, I have many acquaintances and friends who are Christians. I have even Christians commenting on my channel, you know, both good and bad, but a lot more positive, actually liking my videos, especially the videos I do on demonology, saying that they learn more about demonology than they do from their church or own priest, ironically. So, you know, there is some Christians who are very awake and they see a lot of truth. They're more esoteric Christians, I suppose. But unfortunately, there's a flip side where it's the more, you know, conventional, old school Christians that completely follow the Bible to a T, and they don't understand that it's actually been corrupted, a hell of a lot of it. Please go watch a lecture to learn more about this by someone called Mark Passio on YouTube. He has an incredible, I think there's like 3-hour long 2-part lectures. It's called Fake Ass Christians, and he completely exposes all of this shit, and he completely exposes, you know, a lot of darkness within the church, because as with all religions, they are heavily corrupted by man. They are man-made for people to control people, to make lots of money. And unfortunately nowadays, you know, the church itself has been infiltrated by satanic people. You know, this is why when you look at the Vatican, there's so much satanic symbology everywhere. This is why a lot of priests, you know, abuse children. You know, it's rampant. You know, a lot of Christians don't act like Christ, because you're not meant to just worship Christ, you're meant to become like Christ. There's a huge difference, and the church doesn't really teach that. And they don't really teach much about demonology either. They just try to suppress all your gifts. They try to demonize all of it. They demonize all forms of divination, magic, and that sort of thing, completely, ignoring the fact that Jesus himself done these things, but they called it miracles. The church does rituals all the time. Even Sunday Mass is a ceremony, is a ritual. They burn incense, they burn frankincense, they portray themselves to consume, the blood and body of Christ, every Sunday, conjuring that. So, it's very hypocritical, because there is a lot of, rituals and ceremonies that are done within Christianity anyway. But then they demonize all other forms. So it's kind of basically, the biggest issue with Christianity is they're trying to make you believe that you have to go through a middleman, such as a priest or a pope, to connect to God, that you have to be in church, connected to a priest to have that connection with God. And they suppress your own natural abilities. They keep you weaker, they keep you more passive, more controlled, more enslaved. Basically, they take away your power. And the problem with the church is it's also extremely sexist. It completely shuns, women and children heavily. And there's some very questionable scriptures, such as where, God condones, women marrying their rapists and, being very submissive to their husbands, murdering women, raping women. It's quite messed up when you actually read most of the Bible. But the main point is magic is neither dark or light. It's, basically neutral, depending on what you do, depending on your intentions. It's the person that makes it either, dark or light, evil or good. If you're using it with pure intentions and you have a pure heart, you're not narcissistic, you're not going out just hexing people, being jealous, being in your ego, being in a very Luciferian energy, then, it's fine. If you are pure of heart, you have pure intentions, you're very loving, nurturing, you're not a pushover, but you obviously have pure intentions when you're doing magic. You're not using it just to, attack or hurt people or whatever. Then there's nothing wrong with that. That is literally you being an alchemist, being a healer, being an oracle. So it's so important to acknowledge using these practices for goods. And this is another issue, the second issue, unfortunately, is how the New Age, the main thing that makes people run to the church is because the New Age doesn't teach this. A lot of New Age gurus and practitioners are very toxically positive. And again, I've done a more in-depth video about this called, Satanism within the New Age Exposed. Where unfortunately so many New Age teachers are very narcissistic. They teach very, satanic tenets, to be fair, where they make people very solipsistic, self-centered, ironically stuck in their ego, just focusing on manifesting wealth and this and that. But the biggest red flag is a lot of them completely dismiss or shun the existence entirely of demons, of dark entities, of dark, of darkness, of evil entirely. When earth is both heaven and hell, on earth it's the middle earth. That's why in Lord of the Rings they call it Middle Earth. There's a bit of truth in that, but it's both dark and light. It's the middle plane between higher realms and lower realms. We're bang in the middle. So this is why on planet Earth you will see both love, beauty, light, but you will also see complete suffering, evil, darkness, war, like what we're seeing right now with the war. It's rampant, but then there is such light and beauty. It's both energies exist here, and that's why it's very chaotic. But your soul, your spirit is here to basically be an alchemist. To basically, you have the free will whether to choose to live in the chaos and darkness and become a monster, become trapped within this matrix, or to evolve, to basically become a higher consciousness, to connect to that higher frequency. There is a spiritual warfare going on, not just the physical wars that we see. World War III is actually a spiritual warfare, and it's been happening for a long time. It's not just physical war. It's actually a very, very heavy battle between frequencies. light loving frequencies, dark heavy frequencies, you know, Christ consciousness, Luciferian consciousness, basically, you know, narcissism, love. You know, there's so much polarities, and you have to like basically find your center. You have to find that sweet spot within the middle. And the problem is, you know, within, obviously with dark magic, and even with certain toxic negative new ages, you know, they're like one extreme, and then with Christians they're like another extreme. So they create this ongoing battle between the two, instead of like both putting their egos aside and finding the truth, because there is truth in Christianity, and there is truth in the new age and occultism and witchcraft, of course there is, but then there's negative sides to both of them. And unfortunately this has caused, you know, an ongoing war between these types of people, between these groups for centuries. You know, so much bloodshed has been caused literally over this still, between both. You know, the church obviously butchers and killed, you know, hundreds, thousands of women for hundreds of years, you know, for being witches and that sort of thing. But then of course, you know, people who practice dark magic, you know, Satanism, you know, they've killed and butchered, you know, thousands of people. You know, Christians have been murdered for their beliefs by other religions and other people as well. So, you know, it's happened on both sides. So this is why it's quite disappointing when people just completely, you know, are a bit too ignorant and completely shun you know, one thing entirely and then jump onto another thing. And again, I completely get it. And sometimes people like to just do that so they can be part of a group. You know, humans are naturally very sociable. You know, a lot of the time they want validation, they want to be accepted, included by certain groups. So this is why religion is obviously, you know, so rampant and popular. And, you know, a lot of times people don't like just kind of going against the crowds. They want to, you know, they don't like being independent on their own. You know, it takes a hell of a lot of strength to do that, to kind of like not fit into any, you know, group. Even myself, I've seen this and I've struggled, because it's like I don't really fit into any sort of category. So it's difficult to niche myself, because I don't identify as a pagan or Wiccan or a Christian or, you know, a New Ager, because it's like I don't see complete truth in any of those things. There's truths within them, but there's also other certain red flags or things that I don't agree with. I'm very eclectic, I suppose. So it's very, in my opinion, you know, healthy to be eclectic, but it's mentally draining, because it's like, it's so much easier just to like have a book on, you know, oh, how to be a Wiccan, or the Bible, how to be a Christian. You know, a lot of people are so overstimulated and tired and drained, you know, just with surviving a normal life. It's exhausting to find genuine truth, to find what works for you. It's very, very tiring and overwhelming at times, and confusing, because there's a lot of trial and error involved. So it's much easier and simpler, you know, to just, oh, I'm a Christian, or I'm this, or I'm that, because it's like you've got your rules, you've got your guidance, and it's way more easy and peaceful, to be honest. But a lot of the times, you know, I'll see later down the line, you know, they still kind of question it, or they regret it, or they start to see, you know, the truth always comes out, especially of women who try to convert back to Christianity when, you know, they have been connected to their kind of witchy energy or whatever, their clairvoyancy, their psychic abilities. You know, they'll still have that within them, and they'll feel that call back. I went through this a few years ago. I completely, you know, shunned spirituality, you know, before I started my own YouTube channel, because like I said, I was getting attacked psychically, because unfortunately someone done some black magic on me, and it completely destroys my life. So at one point I was so desperate, I got brainwashed by other Christians who also shunned the New Age, because obviously what they were saying made sense, because they were saying all New Age practices came from people like Aleister Crowley and this and that, when that's not true. You know, yes, they were a part of it, but they didn't create it. They were just very bad examples of people practicing, you know, negative things within that group, within spiritual groups. But it doesn't mean that everyone is like that. It doesn't mean that spirituality is innately dark, because it's not. it's natural. It's literally nature. So but yeah, at that time I didn't know what I know now. I was more naive, I was more desperate, I was just so low. You know, when you're in a very depressed state, you're also desperate to seek answers, to seek help. It's like an urgency. So if you have been going through like a bad rough patch in your life, and obviously someone comes with like the light and the answers, you know, saying, oh, convert to Christianity and, you know, all your problems will go away, you'll be saved, you'll be healed. Of course, people are going to go to that. Of course, they're going to be like, okay, you know what I mean? Because they're so desperate for comfort, for help. So, and it can be hard, obviously, when the new age is so filled with like so many fake people and charlatans and dark people who like scam you, or who are literally practicing dark magic. Is exhausting when you're on this constant healing journey and you're not getting anywhere. You know, people who take loads of psychedelics, who do all these cleanses and rituals and this and that, and it's like, and they still feel like shit. Eventually, or they start to see dark apparitions or get worse. They just, you know, get tired of it because they see they're being gaslit. Because a lot of the times, you know, these things make money. And that's why, like I've said in other videos, when you see very toxic, positive, you know, new age gurus, they tell you what you want to hear. They don't talk about dark shit. They're not real. They're so fake. And it's like, and that causes so much damage, just like how extreme Christians cause so much damage when they completely shun all psychic, clairvoyant, you know, divination tools and abilities. Both are as bad as each other. Both are. The truth is in the middle. So it's so important, again, to like not take sides. Don't box yourself. Don't limit yourself into anyone's extreme sort of like beliefs and that sort of thing. You know, always try to think for yourself. And that's hard. And the only way you're going to do that, you know, what's worked for me and helped me tremendously is just to simplify it in the way of just knowing, you know, it's all depends on pure intentions. Like I always say, if you are a good-hearted person and you're doing things from pure intent, you know, you can't go wrong with that. And that is, you know, one of the most empowering things. So I'll leave it there, my loves. If you're someone who has gone through this issue, if you need help with anything, then I do offer one-to-one oracle card readings, where I basically give spiritual therapy sessions, guidance to you, helping you with whatever issue you may have. So if you're interested in that, then please click down in the link below in the description box. And please note, I only have one Instagram. So unfortunately, there's some fake people going around scamming people. I never reach out for messages. I never DM you. So if you have someone DMing you saying, oh, blessings and all this bollocks, trying to get a reading from you, please know that's not me. So be very suspicious and cautious of anyone that is going to follow you on Instagram and then try to message you. That is not me. I only have one Instagram, so please be careful of that. I might actually have to get the blue tick thing soon, just so I can prove to people that is my only account. So I will probably be doing that soon, as it is quite a big issue, and I've had many people reach out to me and unfortunately get scammed by people, you know, thinking that it was me when it was not. So I really do, you know, I'm very sorry if you were a victim to that. It's a big issue within the spiritual community, and unfortunately platforms like Instagram do pretty much fuck all now to remove them, because you have to pay monthly to get the little blue tick. So yeah, that's going on. But anyway, so if you are interested in a genuine reading with me, please follow the link down below or on my actual real authentic Instagram page, and I'll be more than happy to help you. So what's your opinion on this, you know, issue, this ongoing battle between the witches and the Christians? You know, where do you stand on it all? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, I'm sending you so much love, so much light. Ahimsa.